it, so you could get a ticket, but you come with like the whole lunch beforehand and all that one. Cheap wine. But I think what's happening.
Hey. Rounder, good afternoon, and croeso. Good afternoon. My name is Kerry Williams, and I am the Council's Deputy Monitoring Officer. For the benefit of anybody watching the live stream, the first item on the agenda is the appointment of Chair. So I will preside over the meeting for that item. The meeting will be live streamed and recorded and will be available for viewing after the meeting. Should the live streaming fail, the meeting will continue and a recording will be available through the Council's website following the conclusion of the meeting. Can I remind members that translation facilities are available, and for those attending remotely, you need to choose the language of choice. For those wishing to speak in the chamber, please raise your hand. For those attending remotely, please use the raise hand function. We will alternate between speakers in the chamber and remote attendees. For those attending remotely, please note that those in the chamber will be unable to use the chat facility. Committee members who are attending remotely are required to leave their camera on throughout the debate and when voting in order to maintain the integrity of the decision-making process. If you do need to leave the meeting temporarily, please put a message in the chat function so the Democratic Services Officer is aware and then will let us know when you return. I expect everyone present and participating in this meeting to conduct themselves appropriately and to be respectful to each other. That applies to members, officers, and anybody in the public gallery. Right. If I can turn to the first item on the agenda, which is the appointment of the chair. Do I have any nominations? Councillor Louise?
I'd like to propose Clive Wolfendale to carry on as chair, please.
Thank you. Do I have any seconders for that proposal? Thank you. Are there any other nominations? No? Okay. Can we please put that to the vote then, please? Have a show of hands. Unanimous. Chair, would you like to come and take the meeting? Congratulations.
On the election, all elections are valid. Well, gyfeillion, diolch yn fawr iawn am eich hyder. Da ni'n falch iawn i Cader Pwyllgor Safonau Sir Conwy ac of course i gweithio efo chi, aelodau arbennig o dda, ac of course mae'n ddiddorobau bobl Sir Conwy. Felly, unwaith eto, diolch yn fawr iawn. Thanks very much, everybody, for your confidence in re-electing me as chair of this committee. It's a great privilege to do so. It's a great privilege to work with such able and committed colleagues in the interests of both the good running of this authority and in the interests of the people of Conwy. So I look forward to continuing our journey together as the work of standards committees here and elsewhere could never be more relevant and important. So on that basis, I hope we can proceed as we have done for the past few years in good spirits and with good purpose. So the next item, I think, Kerry, as you know, Matt's away, so grateful Kerry's holding the fort so ably. Along with Sally today. And therefore, the next item is 2, which is the appointment of the Vice Chair. So may I ask for any nominations for Vice Chair of this committee?
Thank you, Chair, and congratulations on your appointment.
Yeah.
I would like to propose the vice chair last year, Brenda Bignell, and I would propose that she takes that position, accepts that position.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for Brenda? Louise, thank you. Are there any other nominations for the role of vice chair of the committee? None online, none here. In that case, could we move to a vote, please, in favour of Brenda? That appears to be unanimous again. Thank you, Brenda.
Thank you very much. Oh, diolch yn fawr.
Yes, well, it's good to still have you around. Much appreciate your support and contribution. Right, apologies for absence then. Thanks for everybody who's attending from hither and thither, in some cases very thither. Do we have any apologies?
Yeah, we have an apology from Councillor John Rooney, who is the community member, and also, as mentioned, Matt Georgiou, the monitoring officer.
Okay. Diolch. Declarations of interest then. Just remind members that they must declare the nature of their declared personal interests, as well as the fact of its existence. So are there any, looking at the agenda today, any declarations? No, thank you. Item 5, I'm not aware of any urgent matters before us today, so we can discharge that. The minutes then of the 11th of March, pages 3 to 8 in your pack. Hope you've all had sight of those. If so, proposer please that they be accepted as a proper record. Councillor Frank, thank you. A seconder. Brenda. Can we show our hands please in the usual way to approve? Thank you. Not sure there are any items outstanding from those minutes, Kerry.
No, I don't think so.
No, thank you. Item 7 then, pages 9 to 10, is our forward work programme, which we put together. Pages 9 and 10 there, outlining what we hope to achieve in the next few months. After due consideration, a proposal please that the programme be endorsed, accepted. Thank you. Frank, seconded David. All show please in favour. Thank you very much. Item 8 then. Sorry, Maggie. So we're having that's a sound problem here with.
I've muted her, hang on.
All right.
Apologies, Maggie, we're having a terrible sound issue from you. I don't know if there's anything that needs to be changed at your end. If you just unmute yourself again, because I had to pop you on mute. I think, Maggie, if you try leaving the meeting and rejoining, that might solve the issue.
We'll remember that you've registered a wish to speak. Just that's okay. Shall we just move on while Maggie does that? It might take a minute or two. Yeah, we are. So item 8 is the application for dispensation on behalf of Councillor Andrew Wood. It's pages 11 to 13 is Councillor Wood's reapplication for this dispensation. But we were due to consider that today, but things have moved on. Perhaps Kerry could explain where we've got to.
Yes, just to explain, we've had some representations that came in over the weekend that we need to really make sure that people have had time, so they need to be circulated to all members and to give Councillor Wood an opportunity to see what's in those representations before we actually consider the matter. So I've advised that we defer matters. Councillor Wood is aware, and we'll probably need to have a special meeting because the next scheduled meeting is not until October. So we'll need to arrange a special meeting to consider the dispensation.
Maggie's back. We'll just finish this. So Maggie, we just moved on to item 8, which has been deferred anyway, for reasons we're just discussing. So I was made aware of this morning, and this seemed the right option, considering the fact that there were representations. It's obviously, there are some complexities to this issue, and clearly it's not without some contention. So I think it did need deferring. Equally, leaving it till October was too late. So I think giving it proper airing in a separate meeting was the right way to go. So that's what we agreed with the team here. And I understand Councillor Wood is cognizant of that decision and understanding and supportive. Yeah. So any points on that at all?
Oh, put your microphone on. Bottom bit in.
Ocê.
Bottom.
Ynghylch hynny, chymod yn yr i lythyr o'r ail baragraff lle mae o wedi rhoi deud ymdrech i ddod i mewn i ni lle. Chymod, ni beth dwi'n dimlo, a pob, mae'r we a'r ffom felly, mae'n digwydd fel hyn, mae gynna i brofiad mowr o beth fel hyn lle. Ond o fewn, a ddyle y cynghorwyr o dan yr amgylchiadau yma hysbysu y pwyllgor yma trwy'r cadeirydd yn neu swyddogion bod hyn wedi digwydd cyn i ni ofyn amdano fo lly. Chi'n dapt o? Dwi'n gwybod beth di broses, dwi'n gwybod. Ia, ti'n meddwl bod ti'n beth bychan di ymddiheuro am y peth lly.
Do you want to respond to that, Karen?
Yeah, I think the representations came in over the weekend, I think, and they were viewed this morning. I think upon looking at the representations, it's clear that there's going to be redactions that would be required, and obviously that would take some time, and then the committee wouldn't have really had an opportunity, or Councillor Wood had an opportunity to really have a look at these before we were dealing with it this afternoon. So really, the information should have been in the public domain as well. So we would normally have circulated all documentation with the agenda 3 days before the meeting. So it really was very last minute, really, in terms of where matters were at. So Councillor Wood was contacted this morning to explain the difficulty. And I think on the basis of the difficulty that we're in, he was agreeable to matters being put off to a special meeting.
Na, sori, dim dyna oedd y cwestiwn o gynna i. Y cwestiwn o gynna i oedd, mewn sefyllfa o'r fath, lle mae'r cynghorwr methu dod i mewn, a wedi gan bod y we na'r ffôn yn gweithio lle, a ddyle bod yn broses gynna ni i'r cynghorwyr hysbysu dwrnod wedyn beth i swyddogion y pwyllgor yma bod ac ymddiheuro am bod nhw'n methu dod i mewn lle. Y broses gynna i, sa'n byd yn erbyn beth o'ch chi di ddeud. A gofyn beth di'r broses, os na beth mewn lle mae'r proses, pa fu hyn yn digwydd, ddyle bod nhw yn ymddiheuro lle, a methu dod i mewn.
I think that might be a matter for the council.
So I think that would be a matter for the councillor concerned as to whether how he wished to communicate with the committee. I think the committee issued an invitation to attend when this is the original request, not the request we're dealing with now. The original request, I think the councillor is saying that he wasn't able to attend because of problems with his internet, etc. And I mean, it would have been open to the councillor perhaps to have tried to get a message to the committee on that occasion. I don't really feel as though I would be able to comment on that really further, but the process would be the councillor would be invited to attend, and then the committee would make a decision as to whether to deal with it. If the councillor had got a message to the committee could have made a decision whether to defer for him to be able to attend. That would have been in order. But in terms of process, I think it would be, you know, that the member is invited to attend, and if they're not able to attend and want to get a representation to the committee, it's open to them to do that.
Do you have this? Diolch. I think this is clearly not going away, and we are going to have to give it serious consideration. I just remind us that our remit here is to look at the dispensation, not the wider issue in terms of the what is clearly a local debate itself. But when the time comes, that's what we'll do. Yeah, well, my understanding was that there was a remote attendance, but for me, it's very important that we get all the information that's relevant here so that we can make a proper decision. So I think deferring it was absolutely the right thing to do. And having a special meeting means we can do it with the benefit of some time and wherewithal to do it justice. Diolch. Any further points on item 8? So, Kerry, can we get this discharge as soon as possible? I know it's the summer and there's more than a few things going on at the minute, but if we could aim to get it done in the next couple of months, that would be good. That would be good. Yeah, diolch.
Certainly it will be.
Yeah, thank you. After the election.
After the election,
Yeah.
it'll be expedited, yeah.
And yeah. Maybe before the Olympics, I don't know. Maggie's back. Do you want to try again, Maggie? Oh dear. Not working, Maggie. It's just a crackle. No. I suspect it's something to do with your microphone. Maybe it's. Have you got a remote microphone? Are you just using the computer, or is it? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Jill?
Thank you, Chair. I'm just wondering a suggestion if perhaps Maggie wanted to type her statement or question so I could see it in chat and I could speak on her behalf, possibly,
Okay. Yeah.
as an option.
Yeah, thank you. So some global assistance there, Maggie, if required. If you just jot it down. Do you mind if we move on while you do that? Is that okay? Thank you. We won't forget you. So item 9A then, pages 14 to 23 in your pack is the draft annual report for the Standards Committee. You've all sort of been circulated previously in different forms. So Kerry, would you like to just talk us through this?
Yeah, members, yeah, you find before you the attached draft annual report dealing with the activities of the Standards Committee over the last financial year, 23 to 24. The report gives a summary of how the committee's functions have been discharged during the year, and also in relation to very specific duties that the committee has in relation to upholding of standards. The report includes the comment on the annual report submitted by the group leaders, and you'll find that in the content of the report. And there's a recommendation made by the report that needs to be considered by full council within 3 months. And the date that if the committee are minded to support the report, that's scheduled to take place on the 18th of July. In summary, the report deals with the statistics around the number of meetings that have been held during the last year. There were 4. It also deals with confirmation that 2 new members have joined the committee, Maggie Griffiths and William Glyn Roberts. We're very pleased to have those aboard. And there's a statement from the chair of the committee at the forefront of the report. It deals with the composition of the Standards Committee with 5 independents, a town and community council member and 3 county borough council members. And the details of those appear in your report. It deals with the dates of the meetings on page 20. There have been 4 meetings in June, September, November and March last year. and it divides the work of the committee into promoting high standards of conduct by the council and also the town and community councils, dealing with requests for dispensation, of which there have been quite a few. It also, the committee has been concerned with looking at the members' register of interests and gifts and hospitality. We've been looking at raising awareness around the complaints that have been made about town and community councils and county borough councillors under the code by way of the regular reports that are made to committee. We would also have received reports from the Public Service Ombudsman had there been any, and the adjudication panel for Wales, but there haven't been any during the last 12 months, which is a good sign. We deal with reports from independent members in committee, which have been really helpful in terms of observations on town and community councillors, and a number of members of the committee have been involved in that. And we've also had the regular reports that we provide to committee by way of the forward work plan and also the annual report, which we're looking at today. It just confirms what I've said, that there haven't been any referrals for the adjudication panel, and there hasn't been any referrals from the Public Service Ombudsman for Wales to the Standards Committee at this point. The Forward Work programme was introduced on the 12th of June last year as a regular standing item, and that's on the agenda today. In summary, there have been 4 applications for dispensation by members of the County Council and a member from a town and community council, and those were dealt with on the 30th of November and the 11th of March. The council, the committee have also considered the Our Findings publication in its regular meetings, and have received the Public Service Ombudsman for Wales annual report and annual letter, and also received a summary of responses and a written statement from the Welsh Government regarding consultation on the pen review of the standards regime in Wales, and received feedback from the chair of the committee on a conference that he attended on abuse in politics. In addition to the formal meetings, the chair and vice chair attend meetings with group leaders and also the National Forum for Standards Committee Chairs, which is a forum for promoting best practice. The committee have also approved a programme of training to be delivered to the committee on the constituent parts of the code, and the deputy, the monitoring officer and deputy also delivered training on the code to members of the county council and to members of the town and community council and their clerks. One of the duties of the committee is to report on the extent to which it believes that group leaders have complied with their duty to promote ethical behaviour. And each group leader has completed their own report of the steps they have taken to fulfil this duty, and the committee met privately with them to explore those reports. Positive steps that have been taken by group leaders are noted by the committee, and the committee view is that there are high levels of attendance at training events. And the committee itself is satisfied the group leaders have each fulfilled their duty. And that summarises the report. Are there any questions?
Councillor David?
Was Councillor Wynne invited as the portfolio holder? Shouldn't he be introducing the report, and did he send his apologies?
I understand he was not available to attend. I did. He has had sight of the reports, both reports that are coming to committee today, and sent his apologies. He was unable to attend.
Is it just worthwhile explaining that Councillor Chris Cater has moved on in his portfolio, and Councillor Aaron Wynne is now the governance lead, isn't he? I think that.
He is indeed. Yes, it's Councillor Wynne who would have been coming today because Councillor Cater has different responsibilities now. Councillor Wynne is now responsible for law and governance.
Thank you. Any other questions on the report? In that case, if everybody's happy, please can I have a proposer that the annual report be approved? Councillor Frank, thank you. Seconder? So, Jill? Thank you. All in favour? Thank you. Thank you, Kerry. Just a point on the town and community councils. Sorry?
No one else will be aware that she asked the question.
They won't. Right. But I actually was referring to the report more than anything else. But right, just so there's no mysteries. The point Maggie wanted to raise, which is we've now had an exchange, is just for context, how many town and community councils are there in the county in Conway? And the answer we believe is 33. I think that was my understanding. So we've crossed. So it's 33, and so that's quite a lot, of course. And just to remind us that the onus is on independent members to make regular visits to these councils. So over the next couple of weeks, I'll be circulating the independent members with a proposed list of councils that we might wish to attend in the next few months, and asking for volunteers to go to different ones all over the place, based on ones we haven't visited for a while, or where there may be some particular interest, or maybe there's been a request for us to go for different reasons. So expect that from me in the next couple of weeks, and I'll copy the team here in so we know what's going on. So I hope that answers your question, Maggie. Thank you very much. We got there. So we can now move on to item 9B, which is on page. Sorry, Kerry. Have we not? I beg your pardon. All right. Sorry about that. So we go back to item 7 now. Might remiss of me not to ask. I thought we had, but anyway.
Did we? Sorry, I thought we waited
Yeah.
for Maggie's question.
No.
Sorry, I do
Okay,
apologise.
it's all right.
Just to make sure we got it.
No, never hesitate to kick me if you think I've missed something. You're probably right. Yeah, so we can move forward to item 9B now. It's all right, Kerry, you're on again. Pages 24 to 33, which is the Ombudsman's findings. So you've got a list here in the pack of some recent cases of interest across Wales. Before we go into that, I'll just remind you that you'll be aware from publicity about an issue within the Ombudsman's office where a member of the team was found to be making improper political messages on social media. The member in question quickly resigned, and there is an investigation now underway, which is now being handled by an officer from Northern Ireland. I'll be speaking to the Ombudsman tomorrow, as it happens. It's just for an update, to be followed up by the National Standards Chairs Forum, which is a week today, which I chair as well. So that is proceeding now with an independent oversight, and will report hopefully in the autumn to the Finance Committee of the Welsh Government, which is the overseeing body for the Ombudsman, the Assembly. So that's the update on that. But the work of the Ombudsman continues, and here's the evidence, which Kerry will explain.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. So the report before you that begins on page 24 is a summary of the cases that the Ombudsman has reported on since March 2024. In summary, there have been 9 cases reported during that period of time. This represents a 33% increase on the previous number of cases. 7 of the cases were involving alleged breaches by the town and community councils, and 2 of the matters related to county councils who were alleged to have breached the code of conduct. So if I just go through some of the detail. So of the cases that have come through, there were actually 5 of them, of which we're still awaiting an outcome. So those will have to come back to the committee again. But we do have the detail of some of the allegations, which are quite illuminating, I think, and hopefully you'll find it useful to hear about those cases. So in terms of the types of breaches of the code, they were mainly equality and respect, which is something that has certainly in recent years been one of the most, I won't say most popular, but certainly the subject of the most referrals to the Ombudsman has been around equality and respect. The second was in relation to declarations of interest, and that used to be the number 1 source of breaches of the code. And the third type of breach that I'm going to mention today is the duty to uphold the law, and those come right at the end of the report. And those 2 we haven't had an outcome from, but those 2 are 2 of the most serious ones because they've been referred to the adjudication panel, who you will recall will have greater sanctioning power than the standards committees. But there's a real mix really of cases to look at today. But in summary, the vast majority were involving town and community councils, which is not really that unusual. But the last Public Service Ombudsman's report said that there'd been reduction in the overall proportion, but certainly in the last few months, they seem to have been dominated by town and community councils. So the first case concerns Blaenau Gwent, and this was an allegation that a member became involved in the complainant's planning application, despite being advised not to do so by the council's legal team. And unusually in this particular case, the complainant wanted to withdraw his complaint. So the Ombudsman at the bottom of page 25 looks at what matters she considered rather, in deciding whether it would be in the public interest to continue with an investigation. And a number of factors are picked out in this case, specifically that the member didn't have a history of similar complaints, that the complainant's wishes to withdraw were taken into account, and the impact of the case was considered in terms of looking at the overall context of what was alleged and whether it negatively impacted on the public or raised any wider matters of concern. And it was concluded that on the basis that the person no longer wished to continue and it wasn't part of a pattern of behaviour, the Ombudsman made a decision to discontinue in that particular case. The next 2 cases similarly are cases where the Ombudsman decided no further action was to be taken. And in this particular, the first one we're going to look at is the Haverfordwest Town Council. And this were multiple allegations of breach of the code. The first one being that the former member, and I think that's quite relevant in terms of what's happened here, it was a former member the allegations were made against, had treated female members of the council differently. That was the first charge, and the Ombudsman investigated and found no evidence that the former member had requested information on the basis of gender, and was not persuaded there was evidence to substantiate the complaints that the former member had ignored female members of the council. and that there was no evidence that the former member's actions were motivated by discrimination on the basis of gender. So that was the breach of the code relating to the equality of opportunity. So that was paragraph 4A, was not suggestive of a breach of the code in that instance. There was a further allegation that the former member had brought his office and authority into disrepute because the allegation was that he had behaved poorly during a trip to Haverfordwest Twin Town in September 2022. And the Ombudsman investigation here consulted with a report at the time and found there was no evidence to support the allegation. So that was not found to be a breach of paragraph 6(1)(a), bringing the office of member into disrepute. The third allegation was relating to disrespect and bullying, and this was in relation to behaviour towards the complainant during 3 separate meetings. And it shows really the extent of the Ombudsman's investigation, I think, in that there were 3 meetings, witnesses' statements were taken from people involved. And what the Ombudsman found was the witness evidence was conflicting in this case. And always remembering that the Ombudsman is concerned with the balance of probability in coming to a decision, decided that was not sufficient evidence to substantiate that the former member had failed to treat the complainant with respect and consideration or use bullying behaviour during 2 of the meetings that were being complained about. However, in the final meeting, there was witness evidence that the former member had shouted and raised his voice and failed to treat 2 councillors with respect and consideration, which was suggestive of a breach of paragraph 4B. The Ombudsman concluded this did not constitute bullying within the meaning of the code, and she concluded the former member's behaviour was not so extensive or serious so as to be suggestive of a breach of paragraph 6, which is bringing the authority into disrepute. So in considering what action should be taken, the Ombudsman considered the entire context and decided that there was quite a strained relationship between the former member and the complainant. So there was obviously a history. The complainant had made comments about the former member and described him as a disgrace to the town. So the Ombudsman considered, because there was generally poor behaviour at meetings and the former member had resigned and didn't intend returning, all of these were taken into consideration. And the comment of the Ombudsman was that if a breach of the Code of Conduct was to be found by the Standards Committee, any sanction would be limited to a censure only. And that's because this is a former member. So the Standards Committee's powers are quite limited in relation to a former member. So the Ombudsman in this case said they would only be able to issue a censure in the light of the evidence, and therefore did not consider it was in the public interest to take any further action. And I think this is quite a useful example really of one, the treatment of a former member, and 2, the sort of considerations and wider context that the Ombudsman is taking into account in making determinations of what's in the public interest when making a decision on how to proceed. The next case, concerns Tenby Council. And this is an allegation that the councillor in this case had attended the complainant's home to speak to her teenage son about an antisocial behaviour matter. And it was alleged that he had used his position improperly to suggest he would obtain an antisocial behaviour order against the complainant's son and that he wouldn't be able to work again in the town. It was also alleged that he raised his voice and was aggressive in tone. So the question was whether there had been a breach and whether he was bringing the officer of member into disrepute. or also whether he was attempting to use his position improperly to confer advantage. So information was obtained from the council. Witness information was obtained from the complainant, her son, and a third party who attended at the complainant's home and was present at the time of the incident. The Ombudsman felt that the member was not attending the complainant's home in his capacity as a counsellor. He was attending on a private matter after he'd had his door damaged. So in this particular case, the Ombudsman alluded to the fact that he wasn't bound to adhere to all provisions of the Code of Conduct for councillors. So that's one of the crucial issues is the member who's been complained of, are they acting in their duties as a councillor, or are they acting as a private individual? Because obviously if they're acting as a councillor, the whole Code of Conduct will apply. If they're acting as an individual, then it's more limited. So they would be, as a private citizen and member, they would be bound by the requirement not to act in a way which could be regarded as bringing his office or his authority into disrepute, and that applies at all times. And also, he would have been required to ensure he didn't attempt to use his position improperly or to confer advantage, and those apply at all times. The Ombudsman felt the member was attempting to encourage the complainant's son to refrain from any similar behaviour in future, and he did not feel that the evidence was suggestive of an attempt by the member to use his position improperly. So on balance, the Ombudsman found that the member was likely to have been annoyed because of the serious damage to his front door, and his family had been frightened, and the Ombudsman was not persuaded on the balance that there was sufficient evidence to suggest the member had behaved inappropriately so as to bring his office or his authority into disrepute. So in this particular case, no action was taken in relation to the matters investigated. But again, this gives a good context on how detailed the investigation is by the Ombudsman and how the surrounding circumstances were taken into account in reaching a decision as to whether any action needed to be taken in the public interest. The next 4 cases related to referrals to the standards committees, where the Ombudsman determined that there was a need for a referral. The first 2 relate to Bridgend town councillors, and this starts on page 29. So in this particular instance, the former member was out campaigning in local elections and spoke to a member of the public who said he would be voting for another councillor, and that was the person who made the complaint. The former member was alleged to have responded by saying, "Oh, the wife beater." So that's quite a serious statement to be making. So in this instance, rather understandably, the Ombudsman determined that the former member was acting in their role as they were campaigning, and therefore the code was engaged in full. So she was engaged with political activity at the time of this comment being made. The Ombudsman considered on the balance of probability that the former member did refer to the complainant as a wife beater, and that this was a serious allegation to make against somebody without any evidence to support it. It was also found that the former member had failed to show the necessary respect and consideration towards the complainant, and was therefore of the view that this action was suggestive of a breach of paragraph 4B of the code. There's a useful statement partway through the case referring to breach for the disrepute grounds, and it repeats that for a breach to be established on the basis of bringing the council or the office of member into disrepute, then the member's conduct must impact upon the authority's reputation and or the role of the elected member and go beyond affecting their own personal reputation. So that's something that obviously will carry forward for any decisions of standards committees or adjudication panel when looking at any allegations of a breach, bringing the officer member into disrepute. So in this instance, the Ombudsman was persuaded the behaviour would have an effect on the reputation of the office of member, and she regarded that there had been a breach of paragraph 6(1)(a) of the Code of Conduct, and consequently this went to the Standards Committee, and the Standards Committee upheld what the Ombudsman was saying. There was a breach of paragraph 4(b) and 6(1)(a). So the committee decided the sanction would be a censure. And again, I think it's worth noting here that we're talking again about a former member. But in this instance, the former member was still an elected member. If they had still been an elected member, they would have imposed a suspension of 4 months. But because he was no longer a member, she rather was no longer a member, they could only impose a censure instead. So that was illustrating the difference in sanction really there for quite a serious breach of the code. The next 3 cases were all referred to the Standards Committee, and the outcome and details of the sanctions is not yet known, but we can refer that back at a later date. But the facts in these complaints were, first of all, Bridgend Town Council. And this was a case where a member had tried to influence a decision in relation to an issue to gain an advantage for his wife. And this was referred by the Ombudsman to the Standards Committee, and we don't yet know what the sanction is likely to be for that one. And there were also 2 complaints relating to Porthcawl Town Council about a member of the Town Council, alleging that the member used racial slurs and disrespectful language towards other members of the Town Council on social media, and also that the same member had used disrespectful language towards the former clerk on social media and refused to apologise at Town Council meetings. This one was referred to the monitoring officer for consideration by the Standards Committee. So we should hear what the sanction is in the next few months, hopefully, for that one. Next one concerns Llantilio Portholi, a community council that had breached the code. This one was a case where the complainant alleged that he had personally witnessed the member threaten to punch a fellow councillor over an argument about the use of a local car park during a full meeting of the council. And once again, this was referred to the Standards Committee. So a summary will be provided to Standards when we have the outcome of those in due course. The final 2 cases, as I said, have been referred to the adjudication panel for Wales, and these were both relating to the duty to uphold the law. The first one related to Newquay Town Council, where it was alleged that a former member had been charged by the police with malicious intent to blackmail or harass, and that's been referred to the adjudication panel for Wales. And the last one was Ceredigion, sorry, I've just gone off that. Ceredigion, where there was a complaint against a former member of breach of the Code of Conduct, and the former member had been involved in separate incidents involving inappropriate harassing and stalking behaviour towards women. And that was again referred to the adjudication panel for Wales, perhaps indicating the severity with which those were regarded. That concludes the update. I don't know if anybody has any questions for me.
Any points on Kerry's summary of these cases?
They were all holiday destinations on the way to Tenby, I think.
We have some. We have the odd holiday destination. Sorry. Yes, thanks, Sally. Yeah, thanks again, Kerry, for explaining that. So I think we're required to agree the recommendation, which is that we continue to monitor these cases on a regular basis. They are useful and instructive in terms of benchmarking and of interest. So it is very much worthwhile doing. So proposal, please, on the recommendation that we continue on a regular basis to consider these reports. Maggie, thank you. And the seconder, Wynne, thank you. All in favour? Thanks very much indeed. Thank you, Kerry. So, I think that concludes our business today, Sally. A little briefer than we thought, but we'll be returning to the dispensation. And I've just dropped you a line, actually. I think it might be useful if we could be provided with a map of that area when we're considering. I am conscious of the remit here, but I think just in terms of understanding the points at issue, it might be useful to yeah, just where who owns which bit of land that's in question.
Should you put your microphone on? I'm sorry.
Sorry, Chair, there was a different one there a couple of years ago about the public rights of way. And the castle was taken over. I don't know the ins and outs.
No, neither do I, but I think, you know, you're right. I think in terms of just getting our head around what the issue is here, I think just to look at it on a map would be helpful. So perhaps we could do something, Kerry. Sally, thanks very much.
We just noticed at the end of the minutes that we had, even though we passed them, it said the councillors' registers of interest would be deferred to the next meeting, which is this meeting. Are we going on again because the election?
So there's an issue with the template. Obviously, you raised it, but there's an issue with the software. So the company who provide us with the software are changing the template, and that it wasn't done for today. So it will be done for the next meeting. So it will be much more user friendly by then.
Yeah, because that doesn't prevent junk in, junk out, does it? In terms of the submissions, but as long as it
We
works.
won't have missed anything.
All right,
It'll
good.
all be presented.
Excellent, right. Because it wasn't always clear what was being said sometimes either. But anyway, some progress is welcome. So unless there's anything else, I say we have no further notification of business, but if there's any last comments or anything. For those who are on holiday, continue to enjoy. For those who are yet to embark on very exciting adventures over the summer, in some cases, please make the most of it. I've had my fun for a bit, so just hope the weather improves here. But thank you so much for your attendance, and once again, thank you for your confidence in re-electing me as chair of this committee. I'll see you very soon.